Today, I'm joined by a screenwriter, producer, and independent filmmaker. She's a professor at Wayne State University, teaching classes in media writing and storytelling, screenwriting, and advanced screenwriting. She has a master's in media arts and studies and is actively working on her PhD in media studies. She has been involved in organizations such as Room Project and Writing Workshops Detroit. She was a top 10 finalist in the John Singleton Embrace LA screenwriting competition and is currently producing filmmaker Ben Corona's feature documentary. Please welcome to the show, Toni Cunningham. How's it?
Wow, thanks for that.
How's it going, Tony?
It's going pretty good. It's been a good day so far. How about yourself?
Pretty good. It's still morning over here. I'm in Los Angeles, so just having a
Okay.
nice slow morning. Can't complain.
Saw your email come in at like 8 something this morning, and I was like, "Are you a 5 a.m. riser, or was that like old?"
You caught me. You caught me. I'm very much like that was sent at I believe like 1:30 a.m.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm very much like I am a night owl through and through. So late at night, I'm my most productive.
I'm
And I'll very much send emails at like midnight, 1:30 a.m., but then I schedule send just so people aren't getting blown up in the middle of the night. So I was
fair,
like, what's an appropriate time for Tony?
fair enough. Fair enough. I appreciate it. So thanks.
Yeah, of course, of course. What you got going on today?
Uh, Mostly work. I woke up this morning. I've been for the last like year really trying to go hard at the gym. So I got up, I went to the gym, and came home, made my little smoothie. And now I am researching a project or a paper that I'm doing for school. There's this not to start off on a really dark note, but I'm taking a class called Hauntings, and I'm talking about like hauntings within the city of
Ooh,
Detroit, which is where I'm from, is the Detroit area. And there was this insane massacre in 1929 for this like religious cult leader, and he was found along with his entire family, like axe murdered. So
oh my
I am
gosh.
studying that,
Wow.
which is not, I mean, yeah, maybe not the best way to start this, but I'm looking
No,
at old newspaper articles to try to figure out as much as I can about this insane crime that is unsolved still, like 100 years later. So.
that is crazy. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of appropriate with Halloween right around the corner. It's like
True.
October, spooky season's coming.
That's
Uh,
true. Yeah.
do you believe in ghosts?
I I believe in spirits. I don't know how much ghosts and spirits are the same to me or
Yeah.
to you. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but I definitely believe in like energy and spirits and like, you know, everything has an energy around it. And if you're open enough to it, you might hear and see some things.
Yeah, that's when you say that, that resonates with me. I was actually having that conversation the other day. I think it was just like about Halloween.
Mhm.
And my friend was like, "Do you believe in ghosts?" And I was like, "I think I do, but like what I was trying to describe was spirits. It was very much spirits.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
I think if you're like tapped in or tuned into whatever frequency, not to get all woo-woo or whatever.
No, yeah, I like woo-woo, so
Okay,
it
okay.
works for me.
But that's crazy. What a crazy story.
Yeah, yeah. And so this class that I'm taking um is it's interesting because it's like our final project isn't a paper, which typically once you get into like, master's and PhD, you're just
Right.
writing. This one, it's much more of a we're doing like a class project, and everybody is researching their own place in Detroit that is known to be haunted. And so
Whoa.
we're going to create like a community haunted map of the city.
That's actually so cool.
It really is. We went on a ghost tour like 2 weeks ago for class. It's one of the most fun classes I've ever taken, so I'm very excited
That's
about it.
so cool. What's the
Yeah.
class?
It's called This Class is Haunted.
Oh, wow.
And it's through I study through the communications department, and this is an English class, but the woman who's the professor for it, her specialty is in studying zombies. So we're kind of all in the, and I study like final girls and slasher horror. So all our us dark twisties like to stay together. So
That's so cool. That's why I love higher education because there's just these like random classes that people spend their whole life
yeah.
dedicating their studies to, and you can just go in and absorb everything from them. Like some of my favorite classes in university, I took a history of the samurai class,
Oh, wow. That's cool.
which was so cool. It was just like a random elective to fill some credits. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this seems really interesting. And my professor was like involved in preserving an actual like samurai house in Japan.
Oh,
And like
wow.
he would show us pictures of like this dojo that he's like in charge, pretty much in charge of like the preservation of, and like they restored it and everything. And it was just like, wow, this entire person's life work is dedicated to something that I have barely even thought of in my life. Like this is so incredible.
That's awesome. I
Yeah,
saw, so you kind of recently, right, graduated? I was like looking through all your stuff, but you've got two bachelors, is that right? So you're kind of like an academic education guy yourself?
correct, correct. Yeah, I graduated in 2023 and I have a bachelor's in communication and sociocultural linguistics.
That's the part I'm curious about.
The
So,
sociocultural linguistics.
yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's basically like if linguistics, just like the study of language, and sociology and anthropology all kind of just meshed together,
Oh, that's cool.
because a lot of linguistics is very structural, like looking at like the actual structures of language and like etymology and stuff like that. Whereas sociocultural linguistics is more of like how language interacts in the world. So we look a lot of like regional dialects and evolutions of language and um, how language influences thought. And so that's why I really liked it with communication, was because a lot of my classes kind of intermesh with one another.
Yeah, I could see.
Um, yeah, so it was really fascinating. And I actually, this week's episode that I'm uploading tomorrow is
Mhm.
with a sociologist based out of Amsterdam.
Wow.
Um, so like I spend my free time reading academic papers sometimes just for fun. So very much an academic. And I read one of her papers is about loneliness, and I was like, oh, this is so interesting, like looking at it from a broader
Yeah.
sociological perspective. And so we had an interview about loneliness and like all the factors going into it, and it was awesome. So yeah, very much an academic, very much a self-prescribed nerd, I would say. But
That's really cool though. The reading academic journals for fun is I'm so entrenched right now in having to read it that I can't even imagine doing it for fun.
I,
So
yeah, it was like the first time in years that I was like, let me check out Google Scholar, like just to see, because I don't have access to any of the databases from my university or anything.
yeah.
So I was like, okay, I just need something. Like I gotta get my hands on something. So,
Yeah.
so
You
I
can get a
just
lot,
started searching that.
you can get a lot from Google Scholar. Like I've
Yeah, truly,
yeah, that's awesome.
truly. So yeah, I don't know. If you asked me a couple years ago, I'd be like, why would I do that in my free time?
Yeah.
But since I've been away from it for a couple years, I'm like, I need something.
I need to know more. Yeah, I get that. I get
So
that.
tell me about how you got into screenwriting and filmmaking, and what's the whole story behind that?
Yeah, it's funny because like I've always been a writer. Like my mom will tell this story that she's like, you wrote your first story when you were 6 years old, waiting at the dentist office and like wanted a lollipop. And I was like, all right, that's cute. Um, but then I did though. I always wrote. And when I first went to college, my major was in creative writing. I was trying to do poetry. And I left college for like 10 years and just started working because I was never a really good student. And I moved to New York. I'm like trying to figure out my timeline. But I moved to New York in my late 20s, early 30s, and was there for about 5 years. And movies were always something like I was upset, like The Breakfast Club. I don't know if you can see that, but that
Hmm.
was one of my favorite movies growing up. And I would like memorize all the dialogue. And so people would get really annoyed with me like that and like A Few Good and like, Dazed and Confused. I would memorize all the dialogue so no one would ever want to watch movies with me. And my mom was like, "What? Like you could try to just write something." And I was like, "Oh, you don't really think so much about an actual career as a filmmaker when you're like a little black girl in Michigan. You know what I mean? Like you don't think that's one of the things that you're able to do." So I was just like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." But then when I moved to New York, I got really involved in like film festivals and I would volunteer there. I got to know a lot of people in the film community in New York and then started teaching myself how to write screenplays and by taking like workshops and stuff like that. And then when I moved back to Michigan, there was uh, like a fellowship or a grant called Kresge Arts in Detroit. And I applied for that. The first year I didn't get it. The second year I did. And that was with like short screenplays that I had written. And that grant came along with, I think it was $25,000. And I
Wow.
decided to direct one of like the script that got me the grant. I used that money to make that film, or some of that money to make that film. And I really kind of fell in love with directing, which I never thought I would. I was always a writer at heart. But yeah, I did. I really loved it. And that was 2018. So it was like right before the pandemic. So like I started to kind of, so I filmed, I got the award in 2018. I filmed in 2019. And then as things were starting to build as far as like getting more opportunities, the whole world shut down. And that's when I left the job I was in. I worked for over 10 years in marketing. I was a social media like director of social media for an advertising firm.
Hmm.
And I got laid off there. So I was like, I'll go back to school. And that's how I ended up getting my master's. And then I just kept working through film because my master's is kind of film studies as well.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, and then once the world opened up again, I started getting those opportunities again. So I was doing a lot of producing shorts. I'm producing the feature that you mentioned up top. And then I've got a couple of my own features that I've written that I'm trying to find funding for. So that's kind of the whole workaround story.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
really cool. And what about screenwriting like really caught your attention? Because it's so different than like
yeah,
prose or poetry, like you said you kind of wanted to start out at. What was
yeah.
like the thing about screenwriting that really drew you into it?
It's really funny because it was the dialogue aspect of it, which
Mhm.
if you watch any of my work is hilarious because I don't actually write a lot of dialogue. There's something that I find really I don't know, just exciting about like the music of dialogue, I guess, like I was really big into not to sound like a, film bro from the 90s, but like Tarantino and like Alan Sorkin and Spike Lee, and they all have these like kind of like really fun, quick like musicality to their dialogue, and I always wanted to do that. And then I realized how difficult it is to do that.
Yeah.
So I kind of stopped trying to do that and found my own voice for writing, but like that's kind of what got me into it a little bit though, I think.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah, it's like it creates a rhythm
Exactly.
to the dialogue. Yeah. And I wonder, I've never really thought about that in terms of like their films, but I wonder if they are ever inspired by musical theater by any regard, because musical theater, that's very like rhythmic and then obviously it goes into like the songs and the singing and everything. But
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
curious. I would wonder if they have any sort of inspiration from from musical theater in that regard.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure. I haven't read, I mean, I read a bunch of like interviews and stuff with some of them, but I don't remember hearing that. But I could see how that, I could see how that would be. Yeah.
Yeah, because that really like helps dictate the pace of things. And
Yeah.
like obviously in musical theater you have the score and everything and soundtrack. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would be curious about that. Have you always been into horror and slasher? And is that just something that you've always been into or
It's funny you ask, because a few years back, I probably would have said no, because there was this whole time in my life where like some of my good friends, they really love seeing horror movies, and I think because I do believe in the spirits,
yeah.
sometimes get a little super freaked out by it. So there was a time in my life in which I didn't watch horror, and I started watching it again probably within the last like 5, 6 years, something like that. And the more I started like picking it up again, the more I realized I was like, no, I've always to a certain degree liked horror, but like 90s horror was very different than what is happening now. Because like when I was a kid, I would read Stephen King because I have two much older brothers, 10 years older and 11 years
Hmm.
older. So they had all the Stephen King books. And I think I read it when I was 9 or
Wow.
something that I never should have read it by, but I was, I was a quick reader. And then so yeah, I think I was. And then there's an author named Christopher Pike who it was kind of like R.L. Stein, but like a little bit more mature.
Hmm.
And I read all of his books growing up. And then the reason I kind of laughed when you asked that is my mom, I just got an envelope from my mom and I opened it and it's a 5-page story from 1991 when I was 11 years old. And it was me writing a horror story.
Wow.
Girl in it. And I was like, oh, it's always been in here somewhere. I just have gone through, the ups and downs, I guess.
That's amazing. I love when you like find out or at least remember little things about your
Yeah.
childhood and you're like, oh yeah, like that's
I
still in me or like maybe I should return to that. Like I remember a couple years ago, it was like we were getting a bunch of rain here, and I don't really remember the circumstances, but I was like, I'm gonna just build a Lego, and I went and bought a Lego, which
Yeah.
wasn't something that I had done since like maybe I was like 7 years old or something like that. But my old room when I was a little, like my childhood bedroom was full of Legos,
Oh,
and
it's
I was
awesome.
like, I'm just gonna go build a Lego, and like as I was building it, I was like, oh, I'm like reconnecting with my
Yeah,
like inner child in a sense.
definitely.
Um, so it's interesting to like see how things that you were thinking about back then carry over into now.
Definitely. I've said this a couple times too, because like I friends have said the same thing, but I think when you hit 40, because I'm a few years past 40 at this point, but when you hit 40, it's almost like everything that you were as a kid, you refined it by the time you hit 40. And like, so at least for me, I feel more authentically myself now than I did throughout all of my 20s and 30s. And it's because I feel like I'm the kid that I was, before like society and expectations and whatever, you like kind of like refined who you are at your core, which has been really lovely, actually.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. It's
Yeah.
like we kind of like we grow up as ourselves as kids, and then we kind of get conditioned and like molded through society for
Yeah.
all of our teens and 20s and even parts of your 30s. And then
Yeah.
to have that return, what was one of the main things where you kind of made that connection or like had that feeling?
Um, when I was, God, ever since I was like 9, I was like, I want tattoos. I always wanted tattoos. And I grew up in a very, I mean, I don't want to say very religious, but a religious household. One of my brothers is a missionary priest, so
Mhm.
religious enough.
Yeah.
And my parents were very anti tattoos. And then as soon as I turned 18, I was like, I'm getting one, and I got one, and I got in a whole bunch of trouble, and they took my car away, and a whole
Oh no.
um, but once I hit 40, I started collecting tattoos. And I think at this point I've got like 16 or 17 of them, and it reminds me so much of how much I wanted to be that person when I was 10 years old and couldn't be. And now at 40, I can be whoever I want to be, and who I want to be is still the person I wanted to be when I was 10, It's fun.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your favorite tattoo that you have?
Well, I just got one or just finished one. That's a crow. I really like crows.
Crows are awesome.
Yeah. There's this movie. Have you seen The Crow, the original one from the 90s? I'm obviously a 90s kid.
No, I haven't.
It's a great film. You should watch it. And that's always been one of my favorite movies. It takes place on what used to be called Devil's Night, which is the night prior to Halloween in Detroit.
Hmm.
And back in the 90s, there was like a whole lot of like houses and buildings that were like, they had been left and they were kind of decrepit within the city, and people would just burn them down the night
Oh
before.
wow. Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. So the city oftentimes was just like on fire the night before Halloween. So it got the moniker Devil's Night. And so the movie The Crow takes place on Devil's Night in Detroit. And during that time period, there weren't many movies that took place in Detroit. So
That's so cool.
yeah, so I'll show this one actually because I'll show it off because it is very fun. Um, and it's not the same kind of like,
Whoa, that's huge. Look at
yeah,
the detail. That's incredible.
thank you. Yeah, it's
Oh
new,
my.
so I like to show it off. It's pretty.
Yeah, that's beautiful. There's so much like shading in that because you have the flowers and all the color and everything.
Yeah, that was I think 8.5 hour, 2 sessions, if so, full 8.5 hour session or altogether. Yeah,
Wow.
that took some time,
That's
but
intense.
yeah, it's fun though.
That's so cool. I think crows and ravens are, I'm not sure like what family that falls under for birds. I forget the name of it, but like I think, what was that?
Corvid, they're
Yes,
Corvid.
yes, yes, yes. The
Yeah,
corvids. I think they're so fascinating.
they
Like,
are so smart.
yeah, there was a, I remember there was one day I was like, oh, I can't fall asleep. I'm gonna watch a crow documentary.
Oh wow.
And I found some random documentary on like YouTube or something. And it was like the strangest thing I've ever seen. It was like I don't know if it was a student made film or something, but like I just remember trying to fall asleep, and half of the documentary was just a guy walking around like in a crow mask.
No.
And I was like, what is going on? Like I thought like maybe it was just gonna be like a little snippet of it where he's like doing a thing where he's like trying to go talk to the crows or something. But he was just walking around in the crow mask for wait. I was like, I don't think this is really about crows. Like
That's cool. I need to go find that now because I know I feel like I need to.
Yeah. And like it looked on YouTube, like from the thumbnail in the first couple seconds, I was like, oh, this is like an older documentary. Like I'm
Yeah.
actually gonna learn some good stuff here. I didn't
No,
learn a thing. I didn't learn a thing. I didn't finish it, so maybe I just didn't stick around long enough to learn something. But
that's
it was
funny.
yeah, I wonder if I can find it. So I have yet to watch an actual documentary about crows, but I hear they're very smart.
They are, but at least you have this story now, right?
Yeah, at the very least. A Sleepless Night from The Crow Mask.
That's awesome. I love it.
There's a book. Shoot, the name is escaping me, but I saw an interview with the author. It was a Dua Lipa was interviewing the author. I'm like
Mhm.
a huge Dua Lipa fan. I'm actually I'm actually wearing my Dua Lipa shirt from her concert right now. I don't know. But she has a series where she interviews all these different authors for her book club. And
Oh,
there's an author, and one of the main characters in his book is a crow. And it kind of reminds me of like how you're talking about the rhythm of dialogue.
mhm.
And he was doing like a read through and he put on a crow mask to read like a section of the crow, but like the way he spoke was very like almost like music-y in a way.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to see because like when you read a book, obviously you don't have the author's like intention in mind of like how that character is supposed
So,
to sound. So you kind
yeah.
of put your own voice onto it. So to see him read it like as the crow, I was
That's
like,
cool.
this is pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
It's really cool. I didn't realize that Dua Lipa has a book club. I'm just really excited when anybody reads these days. So like having like a book club, especially like by someone who's got pull, that's really cool to hear. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool. And like I don't mean to make this episode all about Dua Lipa, but like that's like one of it's like a she has a it's called Service 95 and she calls
Okay.
it it's like a cultural newsletter type of thing. So like when she's on tour, like every city she goes to, she'll post like favorite restaurants and bars and like museums and like all of that stuff. And then she has each month she has a book and then she'll interview the author of that book.
Uh,
Um, so it's really cool. And it's just like basically like this format where they're just over Zoom
yeah.
and it's not really like all the other big celebrity book clubs where it's like brought to you by Starbucks or whatever. It's
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's very much just like her and the author, and you can tell that she actually reads the books and asks like
Right.
very thoughtful questions. And like every interview, like the author, every author she interviews is always like, "Wow, that's like a very thoughtful question. Like nobody's ever asked me that about this part of the book or whatever." I'm like, "Come on, do it, come on." Come on. It's so awesome.
Like, no, I love hearing that. One of the things being in the PhD program is that I teach as well. So I teach college students,
Hmm.
and um, the I don't want to say the decline in read, but people don't read.
Right.
Or it's not like full books, and especially not fiction books, the way that they used to. So yeah, that makes me happy to hear. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just the reading in general
yeah.
is scary. Like I'll see TikToks and it'll be like words I don't think my husband can pronounce, and they're like basic words, and she's like laughing at her. I'm like,
Like
I
no,
don't know if that's a good like, is that not the father of your child? Is that not your emergency contacts? Like we need to be reading, people. We need to be
I
reading.
know. It drives me crazy. I'm very new to, well, not new, but I don't do TikTok often. I'm new to actually like doing it more.
Hmm.
But one of the ones that I had to put up, I was like, I kept noticing that people couldn't differentiate between woman and women. Like something about the singular and the plural for that word is just like people can't grasp it on TikTok for some reason.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. I had to say something about that because I was like, you guys, it's so simple. Like just plural and
Yeah.
singular. Like that's it. Like,
I've noticed that across like the last couple of years. Like that's like my sociolinguist. I'm like, where is this coming from? Because at first I just was like writing it off as like a typo.
yeah.
And but like now I see it all of the time.
Right.
And I'm curious. I should look more into it. There's a couple of like linguists that I follow on TikTok and they will
Yeah.
like break down like internet because there's a lot of things come from like a certain dialect and then they make their way into the internet. A lot of the
Yeah.
time it's like AAVE
Yeah.
and then it becomes like internet speak, which is a whole conversation of
Whole other thing. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but I'm curious to where that came from. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that. But that is something I noticed as well.
If you figure that out, tell me because I'm
Yeah.
curious. I was like, I don't know what this is.
And
Maybe.
just the overall misspelling of like in the comment section, just the most like there and there and
Oh, I know.
your it's so hard. I'm like, guys, come on,
I
please,
know. It's so
please.
frustrating. So frustrating. Well, hopefully that's I try really hard with because I don't teach English. I teach like creative writing and screenwriting, right? But it's
Right.
like it's still hard because I'm one of those people with a lot of the things that I know, I have like an intrinsic feeling about things. So but if you ask me to completely break it down, I start to kind of like, I don't know, not get as clear, I guess,
Hmm.
as just the intrinsic knowing of it. So like, I never feel like I'm the right person to teach grammar. Even though I know what the grammar is, the rules of grammar is where it's going to be a little more difficult for me. So
Right.
even teaching this creative writing and teaching this screenwriting, I still try really hard though when I'm like reading those stuff, like, okay, well, this is that there and this is this there, and you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I just yeah, by the time they get to my class, I'm like, you should know this, but you know,
Right. It's like we got to have some sort of foundational level of literacy in order to write creatively.
yeah,
Um,
right. We don't need to be
yeah. But then
negative.
there's like then I get into the whole like standardization of language and grammar and like how that's used to further like oppress certain populations and like the people that create grammar and uphold the structures, like that's a whole thing in itself. And it's like then it starts getting murky, but like
That's true. Yeah, we had a conversation. So another like part-time job that I have is I'm the co-director of film production for a theater company or a theater festival.
very cool.
Well, we did a roundtable, and the theater company we concentrate on Black and Brown stories. So we did a roundtable with the executive staff talking about some of the work that we do that's not just putting on plays. So like we
Hmm.
do youth theater workshops and like teaching them how to write plays and teaching them how to like audition for how actors should audition for plays, etc. And there was a large conversation that we had about exactly this, like the language for younger people of color, and how there is that kind of wall because creatively we want you to get everything out. We want your stories out there, whether you're, using the proper grammar or not.
Right.
Um, but then we also had people from, both sides of the camp, so it's interesting to kind of really break down what you're talking about and how those boundaries are held in those particular situations. I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is, but
Yeah.
interesting conversation for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's like there's validity to all sides of it as well. Like you're saying, like it's important to express in the way that you want to express it, like letting that voice out. But then
Yeah,
like when it's on a paper, like actually getting published and stuff, like there are certain, but then you also don't have to follow the rules, but then you do have to follow the rules. And it's like, yeah, it gets back and
it's
forth.
murky. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's like, who am I to say? Like I didn't make these rules. Like
exactly.
what's been your favorite class to teach so far?
Um, so I only taught it once, but it was at a school called College for Creative Studies. It's also here in Detroit. And it was my first semester ever teaching. So I was really scared and nervous, which I think is part of the reason why I liked it because that kind of energy kind of, drives you through. But
Yeah.
it was something called creative visualization, which is kind of essentially, I don't know if I want to say world building, but kind of. It's how you create the world of your story no matter the medium. So it doesn't matter if it's like video games, if it's film, if it's like role-playing games. So like different people in the class had different projects. Some people wrote screenplays, some people were writing a video game, you know what I mean? But the kind of like through line for everybody in the course is that the way that you build a world, no matter what medium you're in, kind of starts the same way. You have to know the same things about your world and about your characters. And once you know, I'm always the person that teaches character first, more before like world or before plot.
Hmm.
Because to me, if you know your character fully, like, you really kind of get inside of their brain and figure out why they act the way they act, why their worldview is the way that it is, why they're feeling the way that they feel and how those feelings create the actions that they do, which then gives you the dialogue. Once you understand all of that, the world kind of builds up around them. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And to me, good story starts with a fully developed character more than it does a fully developed world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like kind of the world just kind of falls into place around them. And I mean, like naturally, every character, every person is a product of their environment. So it's like the more you understand that individual, it's like, oh yeah, you can kind of start to piece together
Yeah.
all the things. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. I love the idea of world building, and that's something that's been talked about in the last maybe year or two in terms of marketing. I was working a marketing job up until June of this year,
Oh, wow.
and just in the marketing world and branding and everything, like something that a conversation that's starting to be had a lot more is like the world building around certain brands or people. And like I'm very into pop music and stuff. So like you see that a lot with all these different artists is like every artist kind of has their own world. And then you go to
Sure.
their concert and like everyone is dressed for that world, you know? It's
Yeah.
like Chapel Roan was just here in Los Angeles and like I didn't go, but it was like a basically a small festival and like everyone's dressed like super eccentric and like I think
Yeah.
it's so cool that people are getting more into that where it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna go see the artist. It's like I'm gonna dress up and there's like the world and the vibe and the colors and like I
That's true.
think I think
Yeah.
that's really cool.
I am a fan of Harry Styles. I like Harry Styles. And I didn't see any of his shows in person, but
Hmm.
they were streaming them on Instagram and TikTok. Like people would just do, watch do the whole.
Yeah.
So I watched quite a few of them, and I noticed that at his shows as well. Then they also have like there's certain songs where everybody knows the same dance, and like they're just, like
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is really cute. It seems a lovely like community of people, like not just people came to the show, as you said, but like it creates this community of them, which is really lovely.
Yeah. He was one of the people that I was thinking of like as an example in my head is like very much like his vibe. And
Yeah.
I somehow one of my friends like hours before the concert, the Harry Styles concert, won tickets or something and we were like at the
Oh,
very, very, very top row like of the
yeah.
stadium.
Oh,
But it
that's
was
cool.
still so much fun and like we went and got like bedazzled cowboy hats and like let's just go get like whatever we can find to fit the
I
Harry
love
Styles
that.
vibe. And it was so fun. But yeah, and like Beyonce, I went to Beyonce a couple times this year and like the whole Cowboy Carter theme and
Yeah.
um yeah, I think the whole idea of world building is so cool. And I
I
love
think,
when you can like get lost into a world like especially with fantasy and creative writing.
yeah.
Um yeah, that's really amazing. What's like so starting with the character, but what are some of the more foundational parts about building a world in creative writing?
Um, so I think it kind of, when it comes to genre, which is something that I work heavily in with horror,
Hmm.
sometimes, depending on the genre that you're in, there are kind of already unwritten rules that you have to kind of like, you don't have to work within to build the world, but like in order to be recognized as a genre, you kind of have to work within. So, for example, I use slashers for an example because that's what I'm studying right now, but like, there is a film scholar. Her name's Carol J. Clover, and she was the one who came up with the term "final girl." Do you know what a final girl is? Or maybe
Mm-mm.
viewers may not. But in slasher films, like the girl who lasts to the very end of the movie and like fights the monster and is the one that survives, that's technically like termed a final girl. And in order to have that trope title, this person has to be like tomboyish, uninterested in sex. She has to be super intelligent. She has to be a little paranoid. Like there's all these rules about this particular trope. So let's say you're writing a slasher film and you know that your final girl has to like exist within all of these parameters if you wanted to be considered a classic final girl. That's gonna automatically kind of put restrictions on your world already. Um,
Hmm.
because again, for me, character first. So if you're starting there, then your world starts to pop up around it. So for me, that's kind of how I would think about it. When it comes to like drama, I don't write drama as much, so I have a harder time maybe talking through that genre, but definitely within horror. And same with comedy too. Like there's a lot of times you need to think much more grounded when you're thinking about comedy. So the world that you're creating tends to be smaller like sections of a world, places that like the viewers can really immerse themselves in because they need to know like horror and comedy are both really actually similar because they're the two genres that create an actual like reaction, a bodily reaction from the viewers, whether
Hmm.
it's laughing or screaming, you know? So really being able to immerse your audience in those worlds is really important. So those two are kind of similar. Drama's a little bit harder though. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I never thought about how similar comedy and horror are
Or yeah, yeah.
because I almost only watch comedy.
Oh,
And
really?
I hate horror movies. Like I cannot watch scary movies. But recently I've been like, oh, maybe I'll watch some older horror films like 80s or something where it's like very much world building, kind of
Yeah.
like you get kind of like the cheesy effects and stuff like that
Yeah.
because I can't like the whole 2000s, 2010s with like the paranormal activity, like all the jump scares. And I'm like, I that
Too much.
there's no interest for me there. But like if you're really like in the world and it's suspenseful and kind of like a psychological thriller type of thing,
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
do that. And like what I've seen of The Shining, like I think I could do The Shining, but I've never like made the connection to the similarities between comedy and horror.
Yeah, yeah, because they're the ones you get physical, you know, they're trying to get you to react
Right.
in both of those genres. Yeah. So there's a lot of similarities there.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, I've always been interested in writing comedy
Mm,
because like I just love I mean I love being funny just in general. Like one of my favorite things is just joking around with my friends. And I'm like,
yeah.
how do I get this from in here to like on a
There.
paper? Because if I sit down and just like try to write jokes, whether it's stand up or like create a scenario that's funny, I'm just like for some reason because all of my humor is contextual, but that makes sense as to why you have to build such a strong world with so much
Yeah.
like detail and so much like intimacy in that world because humor is so contextual.
It's true. Yeah. So the kind of comedy writing that you want to do, like, would you be more into like sketch or into stand up or like television show comedy? Like, what's your interest?
Literally any of it, like whatever I can, because well, years ago, I was like, I would love to do stand-up comedy. Like right before COVID hit, I was going to LA maybe twice a week, like going into Hollywood,
Yeah.
the Laugh Factory and the Hollywood Improv and the Comedy Store. And um, like me and my best friend, we ended up making friends with some of the comedians and like we would just get on the guest list. So we're like, all right, we already have like a ticket. So we would just go.
Yeah.
And like some of the smaller comics, I was like, I think I could do this. Like
Mm.
I think I could do this. And then I would get home and like try to write out a premise. But then I'm like when it gets to actual joke writing, like I can tell a story, but I don't know about punchlines and like all of like the punching stuff up and
Yeah, I don't know. I think the storyteller comics are the best one. I'm a huge stand-up fan.
mhm.
I keep a running list of all the stand-ups that I've seen live, which again, I'm a little weirdo in my phone. But I think of someone like John Mulaney, right? Like he
Mhm.
tells stories more than he tells like, setup and punchline. At least it
Right.
feels like that to me. And then like, do you ever watch Mark Maron or like listen to WTF or anything like that?
Yeah, I've listened to a couple podcasts with him, but I've never watched his stand up.
His stand-up is really good. I mean, it can be a little darker, but it's really
Mhm.
good. But he's also a storyteller. So I mean, not that you're asking my opinion at all, but I'd say lean into that storytelling aspect of it. You know what I mean? Because like if
Yeah.
you're comfortable telling stories but not punchlines, yeah. I don't know. Just outline everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's
Like,
kind of what I've been like practicing on TikTok for a
yeah,
while now is like sharing stories and like making them funnier. And I'm like, I feel like that's kind of how I'm practicing stand up a little bit of like, you
yeah.
know, I'm telling a story and like they're usually about a minute, minute and a half long.
Mm.
And I'm trying to make it engaging enough for someone to not scroll, but also
Yeah.
like funny enough to keep them around. And so it almost is stand up in a sense. And I'm sure there's a couple of TikTok bits that could turn into stand up.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I follow you and I don't scroll. I watch. You make me laugh. So you're on the right track.
thank you. I
Sure.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. Not all of them, but I appreciate at least a couple of them make you laugh.
There was literally one the other day that I related to so much when you were like, I'm in my villain era. So you only 45 instead of 170. I was like, oh my God, that's so me. I laughed very hard at that
Yeah.
one.
Like they always come from some sort of place. Like I'm sure at that moment, like someone had
Pissed
made
you
me
off.
upset or something, and I was like, oh yeah, like no worries. And I'm just like, like I'll show them.
Oh, I love it. That's so funny.
Like they don't even know I'm mad at them, but I'm fuming.
I'm so mad.
Yeah. Wait, so the crow on your arm,
Yeah.
we didn't get what inspired that?
Oh, okay. So I knew that I wanted to do so almost all of my tattoos have some sort of meaning. And that's not to say I know there's a lot of discussion out there in the tattoo world of like tattoos don't need to have meaning. And I agree, they don't, but mine do. And so I wanted to get something that kind of encompassed my favorite decade of the 90s. So a lot of it was to do with that movie that I was telling you about, the Crow film.
Hmm.
But also, that's a really, really dark film, even though I love it, and I didn't want to put like super dark energy on me. That's one thing I'm kind of careful about when I get tattoos, is I try to like keep it a little light,
Hmm.
dark enough in here. Um, so, so I was like, well, how can I recontextualize my love for that film in a tattoo? And then I started really looking into crows. And crow talk, by the way, there's so much on TikTok about crows, and I learned,
Really?
yeah, there's so much. It's really cool. So I've learned a lot about them that way as well. And then also, I am a little. We talked a little bit about like the woo side of
Hmm.
things earlier. And I do lean in a little bit to kind of the more spiritual woo-woo stuff. And in doing so, I've found that as soon as I started thinking about crows and crow tattoos, all of a sudden I started seeing them everywhere. And I'm in a place where they're around, but they're not, you don't see them often. And so
Yeah.
suddenly we're like everywhere. And I was like, okay, well, to me, that's a bit of a sign then. So that's kind of what made me bite the bullet and actually go for that one. Yeah. And I was gonna originally get it with a magnolia because I'm a big Nirvana fan, and I don't have any like Nirvana tattoos on me. And I was like, well, if I get a magnolia, maybe that would be because they're one of their songs. Um, but I decided not to do that because I was like, I don't know, something about musicians on the body is a little harder. I've got one. I have a Prince tattoo, but Prince has been Prince since I before I was born, so
Yeah.
it makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah. With artists, it can get a little
Can get a
iffy.
little touchy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Be really careful. Yeah.
It's like a couple years later, like all of a sudden they're like some extremist, and you're like, oh, whoa, whoa. Like,
Like, what did you do? Yeah.
it's unfortunate how common that is. I'm like, dang,
No.
like some of my favorite albums of all time. Like, I think about Kanye West and how
Yeah.
terrible of a person he is. And I'm just like, oh, some of my favorite albums, like growing
I,
up, or like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is such like a revolutionary album to me. And just
yeah.
like the art, I'm like, no, what
That's one of
happened?
those things that like this is a conversation that I will continue to have and I've had for years, but like when is separation from art and artist good, bad, okay? Like what is the line there? And I don't have an answer for it, but it's hard to think about because especially in the world that we're in right now and the access that we have to information and finding things out about people,
Yeah,
um, there's so few people or things or businesses out there that haven't done something that you're not supportive of. So it's like I don't know how you keep that up as far as like I'm not listening to anybody who's done anything that I don't like, and then you can't listen to music.
there's no
Like,
music.
you know what I mean? Like,
And it's like if you dig in, like you said, if you dig into anything, it's like
yeah,
every country you travel to, every sports team you watch, every musician you listen, it's like there's
yeah.
no escaping it. It's like you're like, oh, surely this like indie band, and it's like, oh, their biggest sponsor is like Exxon Mobil, and you're like, what the hell? Like,
It's extremely frustrating and
yeah,
difficult. Yeah.
it's so frustrating. So Prince, um, what was I gonna say about The Crow? Is that your favorite? Is that a horror movie? Is that considered a horror movie?
I don't know that it's horror. It's there's this like strange genre that it's like I don't think it's horror, but it's dark. It's like action. It's okay, we'll say paranormal or supernatural. We'll call
Okay,
it paranormal, but it's not horror so much, no.
okay. I have a
Yeah.
question. What's the difference between horror, thriller, and slasher? Do those all fall under horror or
Slasher falls under horror. So
okay?
slasher is a subgenre of horror. Thriller, I think is kind of different. because like I think of thriller almost more as like action or
Okay.
like under the umbrella of action. And that's just me. I don't know if that was like a tech like technically if that's true or not, but that's kind of how I look at it. Um, because there's also like psychological thrillers and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So like for example, oh gosh, what's the one with Clarice and the fava beans? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm so lost.
I forget what it's called, but it's a super famous thriller that people sometimes do call a horror. I feel like I should Google this right
Let me
now, but
see. Clarice and lava beans.
yeah, it's two random things that I pulled out of my head, but it's from
Okay.
the same movie.
Let's see if we can find some Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. Thank you. Yes. And like I think some people consider that to be horror, but I consider that to be thriller. I think just because it deals with dark subject matter, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I
It's a good.
haven't I haven't seen that. Like I've seen clips here and there, and from what I like, I would categorize that as horror. But like the bar is very low for me. Like I know what's his name for Get Out and You
Oh,
and
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele. Yeah. I remember people being like, "Oh no, Get Out is it's like a thriller, like a psychological thriller." And I went and I saw it in the movies. Like I've seen maybe less than five horror movies in my life. Like I saw it when it came out, like the newest version in
Okay.
whatever
Yeah.
2018 or whatever it was. Um, and I went and saw Get Out, and I was like, guys, this is a horror movie. Like this is horrifying. Like nothing's happening. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm so scared right now.
I love it. Well, you can do what I did when I started watching it again and like getting comfortable. I started watching horror movies on Saturday mornings, like they were cartoons. You know what I mean? Like, because then you
Yeah,
have all day. Like, I can't even now. I won't watch horror movies at night. At least not by myself.
yeah.
Because yeah, you still need to have some cleansing after watching some dark matter. So I understand that. Yeah.
It's so funny how like how real of a thing that is because just like as humans, it's like we know that the dark doesn't make any really sort of difference, but like
Yeah.
it's like our like animalistic brain is like, no, the fact that I'm watching this at night makes it like 10 times scarier.
Yeah, it's terrifying. And every noise and every light, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say though, I made two, yeah, two horror shorts in the last couple of years. And like seeing how things are made, it does take some of the like scare out of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? And if you start looking at things, if you're like watching it with like the eye of like, how would they do this? And it's like some of the fear does dissipate a little bit.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think one of the first times I went back to see a horror movie in theaters was this film called Talk to Me. And I think that
Okay.
was 3 years ago, maybe. And it had been years since I'd seen horror in the theater. And then as soon as the film started, I got a message on the phone from my mom. One of my brothers was on a trip and he had gone into the ocean and he had a small cut on the top of his foot. And what he ended up getting like the necrotitis, like whatever it is that like eats away at you from the
Oh my
inside.
gosh.
It was terrifying. We almost lost him. And they had to some of the most gnarly pictures I've ever seen, but they essentially had to like scoop the top of his foot like completely out and like
Ah.
all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, so it's been years I haven't gone to a horror movie, and the second I sit down for a horror movie, suddenly I'm getting photos of my brother's decrepit foot. I was like, okay, so maybe I don't see horror movies in theaters anymore. Like I watch from home, you know. So yeah, I don't know what the point of that story was, but it made me laugh.
Yeah, that's it's like you got your own personalized gore during the film.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you watch Sinners this year?
Yes, I loved
See,
Sinners.
like that to me was a horror movie. I was like, I went with a couple of my friends and I was like, guys, you didn't tell me this was gonna be scary. Like, I
Did
was
you know
ready.
vampires when you went in or no?
I don't think so. Or
Okay.
maybe I did. Maybe I knew that there was like a vampire or something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like at the very beginning, there's that jump scare in the church
Yeah.
where, and I was like, oh, this sucks. Like, I can't do this, guys. There's a couple jump scares, and then it was just like overall a scary movie. I was like, okay, I'm ready to be like profoundly moved, which I was profoundly moved, but
Yeah.
also I
Yeah.
was like shitting my pants half the time. I was like, guys, Why did you not tell me this is gonna be scary?
I love that. That's awesome. I thought that was a great movie, but I'll say this as far as jump scares are concerned. I don't know about you, but I have a lot of different kind of like mental health issues, but anxiety is one of them.
Hmm.
And so jump scares for me are like I can't come back down to normal quickly. Like I stay up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes it kind of uncomfortable. So jump scare horror is very different than, for me at least, than like other horror. Like I can handle like gore and stuff like that, but if there's too many jump scares, I'm with you on that because I can't settle back down, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Jump
Yeah.
scares, they mess with me because I feel like I have like a good, I can usually read like where things are going. Like even if I know something scary is coming or like gory or like I'm like, oh, don't go in there, don't go in there. Like I can handle that for the
Yeah.
most part, but like a jump scare kind of just like ruins that whole like rhythm or like pattern recognition. Like, damn it.
I mean, so they did their job very well, though.
Truly,
I'll say that.
truly. They did their job. Um it's interesting to like know the technicalities of how it works. I mean, for you, it's like now that you know how things kind of fit into certain genres, then it's like then you can kind of bend the rules a little bit. Like if
Yeah.
you have like a final girl character, and then you can
Yeah.
kind of like play with that character and make it less traditional, or you can, if you're really trying to fit that genre, make it super traditional.
Yeah.
Are there?
That's actually what my like my dissertation is going to be on because I my whole thing with Final Girls I really enjoy the trope, but
Mhm,
um as it became a trope because it's happened mostly in the 70s and the 80s, there are very, very few Black women in horror up until you get into the like 2000s, late 90s. I think Brandy was the first Black Final Girl in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and that was in 1998. So we're seeing more now. Like there's like Barbarian has one, and then the Jordan Peele works, so it's happening, it's changing.
mhm,
But the theory that I'm kind of trying to build out is that when it comes to slasher films, there's something called like the terrible place, and that is where all of the violence and the killing and the whatever occurs. So, like for example, if you watch the movie Halloween, there's the house where everybody dies and where she fights off the monster. So that house is the terrible place. But this is all within kind of a like homogenistic world. And in that homogenistic world or homogenous world, I'm saying that wrong, there are very few people of color. So if you're looking at horror from the perspective of a Black woman who's a character in it, and America, the country itself, isn't typically built for Black women, I think any surviving Black woman in a horror film in America would then technically kind of be a final girl, right? So I'm kind of trying to build that theory a little bit. So when you say playing with the expectations of what a final girl is, the horror that I wrote does that and has a Black final girl, and it has changed some of the expectations of what Carol Clover back in 1987, considered to be a final girl. So that's my that's what I'm fighting for.
yeah, that's really
Diversity
amazing.
amongst the final girls. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's like for a black woman in America, it's like the was it the terrible place, the horrible place?
Cool place.
It's
Yeah.
just kind of that's just everywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
It can be. It can be everywhere. Yes.
yeah, especially depending on regionality, like where in the country you are. But
Definitely.
that's really interesting. I would love to read that or watch any of your shorts or
I'll share anything with you that you'd like. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
if there's any way I could read or watch or anything, please send it over. I'd be happy
I'll
to.
send you some links for sure. And then when it's written, dissertation's not done yet, but when it's written, if you're still interested, since you're randomly reading academic papers for fun, hopefully it's fine.
I'm just like I gotta read something. Like I was reading was such a like all throughout college, it was all just like self-help, self-development type of
Yeah.
stuff, and like that dabbled into spirituality and stuff like that. But I got so into that genre of book,
Mhm.
and I haven't really dabbled outside of that. Like even the fiction books that I've read are still self-help vibey type of
Yeah.
thing. Like I don't know if you've ever heard of The Midnight Library.
I read it. I have it
Yeah,
on my actually. It's lovely. Yes.
incredible book. Like,
Yeah.
and it's fiction, obviously, but like even that still has like an undertone of self-help or self-development, you know? And I'm
If I'm
like,
remembering correctly, she's the main character. She's like fighting the thoughts of suicide, right? Is that the Midnight Library?
she, yeah, she actually, in like the first handful of pages, she commits suicide.
Right, and she's got the cat. Yes.
Yeah. And
Sorry.
then she ends up like in the library, which is kind of like a purgatory. And then she like goes
Yeah.
through all of her lives that she could have lived and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's like one of my favorite books of the last few years. But I'm like, even the fiction books I read are still geared towards that. I just like naturally am drawn towards like the self-help type of stuff. So I'm like, I need to find something where it's just like a world I can escape into, whether it's like a fantasy or a fiction or
I'm gonna recommend is my favorite book. There's two. One is The House on the Cerulean Sea, which is it's just a lovely, lovely book that's gonna completely immerse you in a world. And it's like a foster house for kids, but each kid is its own like mythological creature. So
ooh,
like there's a fairy, there's like a fae, there's like a I don't know if there's a vampire, but one of the kids is like supposed to be like the devil, but like as a child. And it's like these kids trying to learn how to be themselves without harming other people. It's a lovely, lovely feel good book, but you're very, very immersed. And then there's also a book called The Golem and the Jinni.
okay.
And that one is another, it's a historical fantasy. So it takes you in a fully different world, but it's also kind of like grounded in like historical fiction.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
so and yeah, and the golem and so the genie is kind of like a genie, and then the golem, I don't know how to describe a golem, but they're like big clay.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's a lovely love. They're both lovely books. So if you have opportunity, those are fiction books that I recommend to every single person I ever meet because I love them so
that's
much.
amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so
definitely.
much.
Mhm.
What's I'm sure it's hard to pick just one, but do you have a favorite film?
Mm. I don't know. I'm going to give you a couple. I'm going to say The Breakfast Club, but not because it's my favorite film now, but because it was such a favorite film of mine that it's the first film that made me want to write films. And then there's a Kevin Smith film called Clerks, which was the first film I saw that made me realize I could make films because it was so cheaply done. And I was like, I think I could do this.
Hmm.
Um, but I'd say recently, mm, I don't know. Maybe this is not recent at all, but Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is another one that I love. Um, A Few Good Men. I don't know. There's so many. I can't say one. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I definitely need to expand my horizons a bit because I love film so much. Like I love being on set for films or even like acting in films. I acted in my first feature earlier this year.
That's awesome.
And so like I love the whole process. I love everything about it, but I really don't watch that many movies or films or
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like I don't know if it's my attention span or just like commitment issues. I don't know what it is, but I'm like the idea of sitting and watching a movie is so like but when I'm watching it, I'm like this is the best thing ever. I get so enthralled.
Yeah. I wonder about that sometimes too, because I feel like oh, what generation are you? Are you
Z.
Z? I
Yeah.
feel like I feel like Z and Alpha aren't watching features as much, right? Because I feel like there's so much content out there now. And so much of it is not long form.
Hmm.
Um, so it's easy to that feeling of like, oh my God, I have to sit here for 2.5 hours on the same. You know what I mean? Like I get it. I've suddenly like I'm on YouTube consistently now and I
Hmm.
never thought I would be, but I'm like, oh, 20-minute intervals, perfect. Like,
Yeah.
so I get it, but I do think it's kind of definitely changing how film and content is being presented. Like thinking even on TikTok, they're doing these verticals now, right? And
Hmm.
like they've got full production companies for like vertical television shows that are like 1 to 2 minute episodes, which is
Yeah.
wild when you kind of think about it. But they seem to be working and people are liking them. So it seems like story is just continually evolving and
Hmm.
how it's being distributed and we'll see where it ends up. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Apparently those are like taking over the industry. Like a lot of my friends that are actors and stuff, they're like, I can't get booked on anything except for verticals. And like the verticals still have like a very much like it's kind of like a stain on the industry at the moment, like the perspective because they're so like cheesy or like just like attention grabbing. Like the stories are just so bad and like the acting usually isn't that good. Like you see the verticals and you're like, what the hell is this?
Yes, yeah.
But like that's the only thing that's booking and the only thing that's paying. Like my friends will be like, I got offered for like a small vertical series, like more money than I've been offered for the last like three projects. And they're like,
Wow.
I don't want to do it, but like I also need to pay my bills, you know?
Oh, I get it. Yeah. Well,
Um,
there was a job, I actually applied for it. There was a job for a screenwriter for verticals. I forget the name of the production company, but they were paying I think 130K for like a work from home, just
wow,
consistently writing like minute long episodes. And I was like, damn, okay. Like,
that's not bad at all.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to talk? Are you like, I'm curious about the feature you just filmed. Are you able to say anything about it, or is it still hush
Yeah,
hush?
it was like a student made film, like a self-funded type of thing. So it was just like a small project. But it was my first time like actually acting in front of camera.
How'd you like?
Um, it was awesome. I loved it so much. And like I didn't really know what to expect. And I was playing the younger version of the main character, so I had to like I shaved my face for set every time and like it was a period piece. It's very like Lord of the Rings inspired.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like medieval type of vibes. So we were like all dressed up in like medieval stuff with like swords and shields and in like these huts and houses. And I was like just so in it. I was like, this is awesome. Like it just felt like dress up and play like as a kid.
That's so cool.
Um, and it was my first time like actually having to memorize lines and deliver them in front
Yeah.
of a whole crew and cameras and everything. And the first day I was a little nervous, but I got into it pretty quickly. And
Good.
I was just like, I'm fake it till I make it. Like I got there and like because all the actors were like that's what they do. They're actors. They've been acting for years. And I got to set and they're like, oh, like how long have you been acting for? And I'm like, oh, like a few years, like just here and there, something I do on the side.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to make them believe that like I belong here. And then like as the days went on, they're like, oh my God, like you're so good, like this and that. And I was like, guys, stop. Like, thank you, thank you. I'm like, yeah, it's just something I do. And then on the very last day of set, like one of the people that I was doing so many scenes with, I was like, hey man, like honestly, this is my first time ever doing anything like this. And he was like, dude, no way. Like he's like, I've been acting for like 10 years. I would have like totally guessed you've been doing it for the same amount of time as me. And I was like, I don't know,
Awesome.
man. Yeah, which is like so nice to hear. And I'm like, maybe I should pursue this more because I had so much fun doing it.
Yeah.
Um, but it
Do
should be
it. Why
coming out. Yeah. So I'm like, and I'm right here in LA. So I'm like Hollywood is 30 minutes from my house.
not?
So,
Yeah. And you're so
um,
young. You got a whole bunch of time.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I've been like, I just turned 25 in September and
Oh, just now. Happy birthday.
thank you. Um, and like since my birthday, I'm like hitting that like 25-year-old spiral and I'm like, I have time. I have time. I have time.
Got time, I promise. I didn't even start working on films until I was in my late 30s. You've got time.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to have that reassurance because like you meet so many people and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this since I was like 12 years old." And you're like, "What?" But that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that they're good at it either, you know?
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Everybody's, path is fully different. So
Yeah. Like you see people that like yourself where it's like they don't start until later and they're actually good at it and it's just like whoop and it's a straight shoot, you know? Yeah.
a quarter life crisis, it's a real thing. I understand it. But looking back at it, I'm like, everyone's good. But in the moment, I understand how it
You know, it feels so tragic. I'm like, I look back at myself even just a few years ago. I'm like, oh brother, like relax. But like literally at every stage of your life, that's all you know. It's just like it
yeah,
feels
yeah. Feels overwhelming. I get that for
yeah.
sure.
What's something that's been on your mind lately? Just something you've been thinking about,
That's
something
a
you've been interested in. Oh, you've been doing ballet.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, I've been showing the gym a lot of time recently. So COVID, when I was in New York, I was pretty active and pretty fit. And then I came back to Michigan, and Michigan is a car town. We'd never walk. So very quickly put on some weight, and then COVID just like it was just not great. So I was like, okay, time to get serious about like getting back into shape. And in the last 2 years, I'm down like 60 pounds.
Wow.
But I grew up as a dancer and a cheerleader. And I always missed dancing, but just wasn't in the shape to even try. So once I started kind of like losing the weight and getting my muscles back and feeling better about myself, I was like, oh, my muscle memory is pretty good. And, I trained so much as a dancer for so long. I remember what it is I'm supposed to do. I just don't
Right.
know if my body can do it. So luckily my gym has a couple of different like studios that you can, access. And so I've just kind of been going in there after my regular workouts and recording myself and trying to kind of get back into the just there's something about the mind body connection that when you're an athlete or when you're a dancer or whatever, like you can really kind of lock in and understand your body. And that was
Hmm.
something that I had missed for decades. So even just trying to kind of like intentionally reconnect to my body and how I move is something that I'm doing. So even though the ballet aspect of it is moving slowly, because I'm still trying to like build up those muscles, the uh, intention of relearning myself, I guess, is going really well. And so that's something that I've been putting up on my own social platforms is just kind of that journey back to again, this is the thing. Once you get to, 40 and above, you start
Hmm.
going back to the things that you did as a kid. Um,
Yeah.
and it feels nice, right? And it starts to feel like you feel like yourself again, or at least I do. I can talk for myself, I suppose. But ballet has been doing that for me, and I've been improving slowly but surely, and feeling better and feeling more confident and feeling more in shape, which has been really great.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I feel like getting back into your own body, like taking it slow is so important, especially if it's something that you haven't done in a long time, whether it's a sport or dancing, especially something as intense as ballet. Like ballet is so difficult. Like you need the flexibility, the mobility, and the strength.
Yeah, it's
It's
not easy.
it's so intense. It's
Yeah.
so intense.
It is cool though. Like I mentioned the muscle memory and like I think, you know, flexibility, like you can lose it, but like for whatever reason I haven't. I think because I did so much of it when I was younger, it's still there, which is great.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as like the intensity of it, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm currently in physical therapy because I snapped my meniscus last month.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was absolutely terrifying. I was at the gym and I was doing a side plank, which I'm not good at. Still like trying to build up the like hip flexors and stuff. So I'm not
Mhm.
very good at that. And I put my knee down to do like to take some of the pressure off of the hips. And the second I put my knee down, like it reverberated throughout the whole gym. This is huge pop. And I was with a friend and she had a headphone and she was like, "Was that you?" And I was like, "Uh-huh." And I couldn't bend my leg for like 2 weeks. I couldn't bend my leg.
Oh
Um,
my God.
it was rough. So they scheduled me for surgery. And then after like 2 weeks, I couldn't get the answers that I wanted from the surgeon. Like I don't know if he was too busy or whatever, but he just wasn't responding. So at that point, I was like, I don't really know you very well, and you're not answering my questions, so I'm not going to let you operate on me.
Right.
But if that's the case, then can you just at least write me a prescription for physical therapy? So I've been doing that recently, thankfully, because I could not move at all. And like, so all that ballet stuff kind of like, bottomed out during that time. But now that I'm, building those muscles up again, I'm feeling more confident. But one of the things, like if you do look at the TikToks, I've been trying to work on getting my pirouettes back, and I've been so afraid because it's that twisting motion on the knee.
Hmm.
I was like, I don't know that it's fully healed, and I'm scared to like snap
Yeah.
something else, so.
Like trusting it again. Like my dad has had both knees replaced,
Oh
and
my,
like still to this day, he's still like hesitant to like put all of his body weight, like or like if we're hiking or climbing or like lifting stuff, he's
yeah,
still like I can see like the hesitancy of like just because it's not his body part or like there was a time where it was so, like in so much pain that he's hesitant to do it, and
yeah.
it's hard to like trust the body again because if you've experienced that pain, it's like that's the last thing you want to do again.
Yeah, that's yeah. That's the trusting the body, man. That's the that's the whole thing. It's harder to do, especially as you age. So yeah, trying to actively work on that is big, at least I think for
Yeah.
myself.
And is that something that you can heal with physical therapy, or are you eventually gonna have to get surgery or?
So the actual like pain, I'm able to like range of motion is back,
Hmm.
and I'm like building out the muscles there, so that will be good. My physical therapist was like, because I got the MRI done, and there is like some arthritis and some bone spurs and some like the meniscus that tore, like it's still there, the torn part.
Yeah.
At some point they might need to go in and just clean it out so that if there is any pain that will go away from that, but right now I feel good, so as long as I feel good, I don't want the surgery unless I'm not feeling good, so
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
What's
I don't know.
something that you've been listening to lately? Are you a music fan? Are you?
I am. I am, but I also have a harder time getting into newer music for whatever
Hmm.
reason. But I will say, I love Hozier. And I saw him live last year for the first time, and just that show was incredible. And yeah, I something about I don't even he's not even really folksy, but like he's like folk bluesy,
Hmm.
but like Irish folk blues. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. But whatever that vibe is, I'm really down with it.
Hmm.
I'll put that out there. So he's somebody that I've been listening to a lot recently. But I also do a lot of kind of throwback music too. You know what I mean? Like, I was listening to Prince at the gym today.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned Prince earlier with your tattoo.
He's an all-time favorite. And then
Hmm.
look at like I've got my records over here. Incubus is a band that I listen to.
You mentioned Nirvana.
Nirvana, yeah, Pearl Jam, all kind of older stuff. But I'm always down for recommendations for new music. Maybe I'll listen to Dua Lipa. I don't really know any of her songs.
I do love Dua Lipa. I love to Dua Lipa just makes like fun music. Like I don't know. I have such a good time. Like I've been a fan of hers for years. Like in college, that was like a joke with me and all my friends. It's just like, oh, Dua Lipa. Like one of my friends bought me like a Dua Lipa air freshener for my car, which
Oh,
like the scent is gone. It's been gone for years, but I still just have her like chilling there. Um,
oh,
and like, yeah, whenever a song would come on, like at the bar or the club or whatever, like we would all sing and dance to it. It's just feel good music.
that's cool.
Um, an artist that I've been really loving is Magdalena Bay,
Mm,
and they're a lot smaller.
right.
Um, I went to I went to their concert last October, and I was like kind of reminiscing about it. I was like, wow, that was so fun. Like this album's incredible. It's one of my favorite albums of the last couple of years. It's called Imaginal Disc.
Okay.
And I was like thinking about it. I was listening to it a bunch, and then they were in Hollywood like
Hmm.
that week that I was like thinking about the concert and everything. And I was like telling my one of my friends, I was like, oh, I've really been back into Magdalena Bay. And he was like, oh, my friend went to their concert tonight. And I was like, what? Like where? And he was like, here. And I was like, no way. And thank God they had 2 nights in a row. So I went the next night, and it was actually in a cemetery, which was really crazy.
Okay.
Um,
For
it,
someone who doesn't like horror, how are your nerves?
right? Like I was like at first I was like I don't know how I feel about that. Like cemeteries, like death freaks me out. That's like a conversation I have. For someone that doesn't like talking about death, I talk about it quite a bit, but like in the sense of like I don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah, that's fair.
But there's this in Hollywood, it's called the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. It's this massive cemetery with like big tombs and mausoleums and stuff. And they have this big open area, and they do movies there, and they do yoga and concerts and all
Okay, I
this
wonder
stuff.
if awesome.
It's actually really cool, and I'd never been there before. And so I went to this concert, and it was like, when was this? It was maybe the first week of October or last week of September, but it was like right as fall hit. And it was kind of like spooky vibes, and their music is like it's kind of a mix of like pop and alternative, but also kind of like rocky. Like there's some like metal-ish aspects to it with like guitar and drums and stuff.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, like I've been saying this since the concert, in a weird way, it kind of like helped me with death, like the idea of like horror and cemeteries and death and like
Oh,
the aesthetic of it all. And I'm like, maybe this isn't so bad. Like this is
I
kind of cool.
intrigued by that. Can you tell me more about that? I'm actually really curious. Like, how did it help? Like, what
I
did it like?
I don't know, maybe just being like surrounded by it and
Yeah.
like I don't know. I think that Western culture is so weird about death.
Mm,
And like in Eastern cultures and even like in South America and stuff, there's like celebrations around death.
yeah.
And like everyone I told about the cemetery, I was like, oh, I went to a concert in the cemetery and like, isn't that like rude? Isn't that disrespectful? And I was like, at first I was hesitant, but once I was there, I was like, this is kind of like a celebration. Like
Oh,
we're
that's
we're allowed to like have fun and listen to music and like be so happy in a place where like people are resting
yeah.
eternally. Um,
Did you
yeah, I
bring
don't-
them then? They get to enjoy it too, you know?
yeah, and I was like, I would hope in like my afterlife, if there is one, like I would love to be rocking out to
Oh yeah.
music and like watching people do yoga and watching movies and like I would love that.
Do.
So yeah, I don't know, maybe just being like immersed in everything and like I spent some time afterwards just like walking around and looking at all like the different grave sites and stuff.
Yeah.
And they actually had like a little grave for Toto from Wizard of
Oh, the
Oz.
dog? Oh,
Yeah. And
that's sweet.
there's a
Yeah.
bunch of like Hollywood legends that are buried there and stuff. So it was just like a little piece of history, but it was really cool. Afterwards, I was like, like a little piece of me like felt healed about it because
I
I've
love
been
that.
so like, and I think maybe that's why horror, I'm so like distant from horror.
Yeah.
But like lately, I've been like I was saying, I kind of want to watch some like older horror movies. So maybe
Yeah.
I'll do that on like a morning, like a Saturday morning or something. Uh,
Yeah.
like watch like The Shining or like some of the older stuff where it's like kind of
Or even
fits the fall vibe.
some Hitchcock would be fun for you, I would imagine, because it's not
Yeah,
me. I love Hitchcock. He's great.
yeah,
Um, I need to go to that place though. My brother lives out in LA, so I do get out there every once in a while. So next time I'm out there, I'm going to try to look that up because that sounds really cool.
it's really cool. Yeah, and they do, like I said, they do a bunch of movies there and all these different events, and it was really cool.
I love that. Well, I
Yeah,
will say when you do get into the horror, or not get into it, when you do try it, I suggest you should watch The Crow and you should watch it the night before Halloween.
okay.
That's the best.
I'll definitely put it on the list. And that's so cool that takes place like in Detroit. Was that is that something like in the Detroit area that people it's like people just love The Crow, or is that something that's special to you?
I think I think some people I think it's kind of still like a subculture movie, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Because it's, like Nine Inch Nails did the music for it and like it's got that kind of like industrial rock kind of vibe to it. So I
Hmm.
think it is still maybe a little subculture, but the fact that it takes place on Devil's Night like that as a whole is kind of a Detroit thing. So I think when people realize that and find that out, yeah, they're more apt to watch it or to discuss it or, hold on to it, hold it closer to heart
Yeah,
um, than other films of its time, I suppose. Yeah.
that's really cool. I'll have to check that out. And the books that you shared in some of your other films.
Yeah.
I have a
Sorry, I'm just
whole
like throwing stuff at you.
no, I love it. I'm like, I gotta write it all down. I gotta like dive into it. Like all these conversations I have, I'm like, I have a running list of all of these things. And I'm like, that's the whole purpose of it. I'm like, I need it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
Pretty
it so
cool
much.
though. Also, just I wanted to say as well, like having doing something like you're literally just like I don't even know how to say it, just finding normal, regular people and having conversations, I think is actually really cool. And something that's like lost a lot, I think, in this day and age and time. And for whatever reason, I think that conversation and communication has been struggling. So I'm psyched that you're doing this and hope that you have like all of the awesome conversations and guests and all that kind
Oh,
of
thank you so much. Thank you. I've already been enjoying it so much. I think this one today is the fourth one that
stuff.
I've recorded. And it's been so much fun. Like every conversation has been incredible. I've been learning so much from so many different type of people. Like yesterday, I was talking to someone about sickle cell disease, and next week we're doing one about drag shows. And like,
Oh,
there's this like I'm like I want to soak it all in. I want to learn
yeah,
everything from everyone. Um, so it's been really special, and I appreciate you saying that a lot.
of course.
Um, it's something that I really enjoy. And it's like, even if there isn't a huge audience for it for whatever reason, like it's meaningful to me. And it's like getting to meet people and learn about their lives and what they're interested. Something that I really love to do. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I appreciate you taking the time today. I realized that we already blew past an hour, almost an hour and a half, which is crazy. Uh, Conversation. I just get lost in the conversation.
It's a fun conversation, that's why.
Um, but yeah, I really appreciate your time. I want to be mindful of your time. But yeah, thank you so much. I learned so much. I had a great time talking to you. It was really special. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well. Enjoy.
Thank you. You too. Nice to meet you, Tony.
Nice to meet you
Have
too.
a great day.
Bye-bye.